guys, it is the premiere episode of Girl Talk with Belle, and I've been hunting this guest down for 11 years.
Right.
Because she's a very busy girl, which I love it. Very busy woman, I should say, not girl, woman. And she's 1/5 of the Black Girl podcast. She's an entrepreneur. Yeah. I mean, a writer. I mean, let me just read down what Pandora for Brand said about her when she did her article with them, Black Music Month. Sapphira M is a creative powerhouse, business owner and entrepreneur, podcast host, and creative. I mean, yeah. So obviously I just told my guest, Sapphira M is with me for Girl Talk with Belle for my season 3 premiere episode. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. I feel it already.
Well, I try to keep it light and fun, you know what I'm saying? But yes, I'm so excited about this, only because I have been watching your moves for a while. And then I saw you went to Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte.
Yes.
Another HBCU. She should have went to A&T, but whatever. We're going to leave that alone.
Oh, boy.
I'm an Aggie. I'm an Aggie, but you know, it's okay. It's okay. I'll let that one slide. You know?
Thank you. Thank you for that.
She's a Queens native, and you know, I feel like everybody that lives in New York, they're really like hustlers, like grinders. Mm-hmm. They don't play no games when it comes down to it. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, so I mean, well, I'm from Queens, New York, one of the 5 boroughs. I have danced my entire life, so it's only making sense that I am co-owner of a dance studio with my mother now called It's Dance at the Brown Bar. As you said, I'm 1/5 of the Black Girl podcast, which has grown insanely popular in the last 4 years. We all started working at Hot 97, and from there, our careers just started to grow in media and entertainment, and we then left the building, left working there, and then started working at other places, but we always continued doing our podcast. Even still to this day, we're still recording, still interviewing so many different people, so many different talents out there. So that is a very huge part of my life. Let me see what else. So much. What else do you want to know?
A little bit about your upbringing, you know, where you come. I know you come from Queens, New York, but you know, I want to know a little bit more about your upbringing, and then we'll talk about how you got what it brought you to into media.
All right. So I've always been in the arts. My parents are both educators. My mother is an English educator. She's now an assistant principal. My father is now a retired health educator and track coach. And they always my mom always danced. My aunts danced. My brother is a dancer. My sister-in-law, like I come from a family of artists. I have painters and actual graphic artists in my family. Just so many beautiful people with so much talent. So that's really a huge part of my upbringing. And I always danced. I was in theater camps. I participated in numerous community activities, and it just always, you know, instilled a certain value in me. It always helped me to kind of shape what I wanted to do. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a writer. I fell in love with Brown Sugar like everybody else. I love that movie, and I wanted to be just like Sydney Shaw. So I started writing for the high school newspaper. I went to Benjamin N. Cardozo in Bayside, Queens. It's a pretty huge high school. And I started writing for the paper. And then I remember I took a trip one summer with Jeter's Leaders, which is Derek Jeter's nonprofit organization. I took a trip to Chicago, and I met Muhammad Ali and his family. I met Derek Jeter and his family, his mother, his sister, his father. And it was a bunch of youth. I had to be 16 at the time. And then I came back and I reported it to my school newspaper. And I'll never forget, like, just feeling like, wow, the rush of being just 16 and like traveling, being able to travel, experience the conference, and then also being able to talk to people and learn about them. So that's where I fell in love with interviewing, I say. So from there, I still danced my way through high school. And my dreams of kind of being a dancer from like childhood started to fade away. And I was like, I really want to go to college for writing, but I want to go to HBCU. And at the time, I had applied for every HBCU, and I'm sure you probably can relate to this. There were those common apps where you can apply to all the HBCUs. I wanted to go to Howard so bad, and I didn't get in.
Wow.
But I got into Smith, obviously. I got into Virginia State. I got into so many HBCUs, and I just decided off the whim, I'm going to go to JCSU. And it was the best experience of my life so far. So I went to Charlotte, spent 4.5 years there because I tried to live there. And I had some great experiences in college. I was a part of the marching band, and I danced on the dance team. I was a part of SGA, so I was the public relations officer. And that was my senior year, and that was actually, excuse me, I'm sorry. I actually consider that one of the very close internships that I ever had, because if you know anything about HBCU culture and just like being a part of organizations, like just being a student at an HBCU, there's a connection with administration, there's a connection with faculty that's different than what you would get if you went to a PWI. Yeah. So being a part of actual student organizations that governed campus and also had to communicate with, you know, academic affairs and all these other people in the higher offices at Smith, that primed me in my senior year to be able to go out into like corporate America and different places and work with other people. And then also it gave me a knowledge as, you know, entering in pre-alumni status and then eventually alumni, just to know like how an HBCU really works and how like funding is so important for HBCUs. Yeah. So that's also something that is currently a passion of mine as well, like as an adult and as an alumna of Johnson C. Smith. I do have a very strong passion for funding to HBCUs and even just, you know, giving back to my school in particular. Even right now, I have a shirt on that says, "Keep the money on the Ford." It was created by an alum at Smith, and all the Black-owned businesses of Smith alumni are on the back of the shirt. So like just doing things like that and being able to connect, you know, with my roots from my HBCU family is something I hold very near and dear. But back to my upbringing. Finished college in 2011, and my very first job was at my very first internship, which happened to be MS Communications. My very first internship there was my post-freshman year, which was 2008 for me. And I'll never forget working Summer Jam for the first time in 2008. It was a very, very interesting, hot ASS experience. But I learned so much. And also one thing that like I've kept for myself since that day in working in media and entertainment is being able to share a part of what I do with the people who are so close to me. Because everybody knows, like, when you work in the entertainment industry or when you work somewhere, everybody wants to get a ticket. Everybody wants to get in the concert.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you do have, unfortunately, during my time at MS, I was able to get tickets. And I was able to, you know, like my parents would go to concerts, my aunts. So that's something that I've always cherished, a part of my career, I guess I could say.
Yeah.
But I started working there officially the end of 2012 after I graduated from college. And I'm actually skipping over so much as I'm talking to you, because when I first came home from college, I actually started at a PR agency as an apprentice. It was called Talent Resources.
Oh, okay.
And it was in Midtown in the city. Wow. So that wasn't my first internship though. So that's why I'm like kind of spotty with it. But just to like bring it back in, because I don't want to spend too much time on it. I've had amazing experiences from 2008 in the entertainment industry. So I've been very fortunate to work for brands like the NBA, CBS Radio. I'll say that my career definitely did start in radio, but I've definitely gone into editorial. I've definitely gone into fashion. I've gone into politics. So it's just been an amazing ride of my career. I had to stop myself to kind of reel it in, but yeah, I can tell you whatever you want to know.
I can tell you got a long list. You got a resume.
Yeah, I do. And as I was trying to tell you the story, I was like messing it up. So I'm like, just ask.
It's understandable, because I was gonna ask you how you got started in the radio industry, because a big base of what I've learned while watching you is that you were with MS for a while before the transition into where you are now. So kind of give us a little bit of a, if you want to shorten it, how you got started in radio and kind of like what your role was there.
Sure. So how I got started in radio was actually through my father, who has nothing to do with radio, but it's the beauty in being a Black person and community to me that kind of like just brings the story full circle. So my dad played softball in our community of Cambria Heights for like 30 years straight. I'm 30, so all my life. And one of his friends that he played softball with, Fatin Muhammad, was and is actually the producer of Open Line, which is a 98.7 Kiss FM show. So I connected with Mr. Muhammad, and he was like, I can get you in contact with a certain person that does the internships. And I had been finished. It was like maybe right before my freshman year was over at Johnson C. Smith. Mm-hmm. And so I needed an internship. I was 18, fresh out of my first year. And I got the internship. I think I sent my transcript from the first year, got the internship. And my first position in there was in the promotions department as a promotions intern for the first half of the summer. So this is like when CDs were still out. And this when Chris Brown's CD came out that summer. It was so many CDs. And MS still had CD 101.9. Actually, no, it was RXP 101.9, which was a rock station. Oh. So it was Hot 97, 98.7 Kiss FM, and RXP, rock, R&B, and hip hop. So all three stations, I was a promotions assistant for. For the other half of my internship, I was directly assigned to Shayla. She happened to be the midday host of 98.7 Kiss FM, and she's also Scotty Beam's mom. So, yeah, so I was her intern. I helped her to come up with some ideas for her shows. Like, at the time they weren't calling us millennials in 2008, but it was from a millennial perspective for that type of show, which was the show that my mom listened to. And I grew up listening to Shayla's because I'm a New York City kid in the radio with my parents. We grew up listening to High 97, Kiss FM, WBLS. So my internship in 2008 lasted. I went back to college. I interned at CBS Radio for Power 98 in Charlotte. And that was in 2010, the summer of 2010. That was a great experience. And Jessica, the girl next door, and No Limit Larry, who are on the Power 98's morning show, are also alum of Johnson C. Smith. So I was always connected with them, always in touch with them. They're a little bit older than me, but they always came to Smith. And they're like hometown celebrities because they went to Smith and got jobs out of Smith at Power 98. So radio was just always around. And even though I wanted to be a writer, I guess like over the years through college, it just was like, I could get into this radio thing. There's so many jobs in radio. And I think a lot of people go the radio route when entering into media and entertainment is because you can do so much in the radio station. Yeah. So fast forward to 2012, when MS got rid of 98.7 Kiss FM, which was the R&B station in New York. They bought WBLS, which was the other R&B station of New York. I got hired at WBLS in 2012 as a sales coordinator. So I worked with all the account executives. That was my actual first job ever, like my first salary job. So I worked with the account executives, helping them to coordinate their media decks and just like organizing their desk and helping them, you know, just like with their day-to-day task as far as selling for the radio station. About 4 months into it, I hated it so much. And I thought that I could be an account executive. So this opportunity at AOL.com, Patch.com became available for me to become an account executive. And I took it. And I thought it was the best thing ever until 3 months later, I got laid off.
Ooh.
And God will tell you when it's not time for you to move. Because 3 weeks after being laid off from Patch.com, my friend Jameer Pond, who was working with me at BLS, calls me and he's like, hey, and this was around that social media, this was around the time, this is 2012, so social media for brands was just really becoming a prominent thing. And I had written for a couple of magazines. I had written for Vibe already in that time. I had written for Global Grind. And my social media career actually started at Global Grind because I was their only social media intern, and all they had was a social media editor. So if you've ever been an intern in the last 10 years, you know the intern does all the work. So
right.
That's that. And actually, you know, it's funny I'm having this conversation with you because I'm gonna start like talking about that more. Like, I think our generation of interns did the work.
Right.
I think this generation of interns, I wouldn't say they don't. We probably, like, now that we're in executive roles and we're in roles where we can give to interns, we probably know to give them work. But I feel like we worked as, like, I had a full-time internship, if you get what I'm saying.
Right, yeah. Basically, like, I get what you're saying, because when I had my internship, I was getting ready to graduate college. I taught classes. I had to put together a project, learn how to linear edit, and I had to learn how to use Final. Like, it was just so many things, and all they did was say, hey, Janelle, here's one session. Now you got it. And that was it. And I had to do everything.
And did you get paid?
No, I didn't get paid. I had to work a second job. So yeah, I feel you.
And that's how, but to be honest with you, I had so many internships, I had so many apprenticeships, I had so many paid under the table jobs within the media entertainment industry very early on in my 20s and very, very right after college. Mm-hmm. So much to the point that those were my experiences that allowed me to get back to, you know, being a social media producer or becoming this type of thing, or, you know, having these other opportunities. So like I was saying, after I got laid off, 3 weeks later, Jameer calls me. He's like, hey, the Steve Harvey morning show at BLS is looking for a social media producer. Do you think you could do it? I'm like, yeah, like, I eat, breathe, sleep social media. At that point, I thought I was a social media guru in 2012. So, and there were like 3 platforms out. So
yeah.
I went back to MS. I interviewed and I got the position. The time was 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. I had to be to work at 5 a.m. every single morning because it was the morning show.
Yeah.
And I learned so much about news. I learned about being on a morning show and having to be on time. I learned everything about producing a show, a radio show, especially a nationally syndicated show. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, WBLS was a flagship station for the Steve Harvey Morning Show, but he was no longer in studio with us. So Miss Ann Tripp, who was on the show with them, she did the nationally syndicated news for every network for every part of the network that heard Steve Harvey Morning Show. Oh. But she was in New York and they were in Atlanta. So there were so many, there were times that, you know, if talent was coming onto the morning show, they would come to New York and sit in with our crew, and they would do the morning show from the New York station, even though Steve Harvey's show would be in Atlanta. So just seeing that side of radio and seeing all the magical components that come together and putting together and producing a show, and, you know, me being from the social media standpoint and social media growing at the time and starting to lead trends in the way that things happened even on radio, it was very exciting. And I was 25 years old doing this. Yeah. So then I started working on other shows. Shayla, Scotty's mom, was still at the station, so I started working with her closely again. Then the concerts. Radio was such an exciting job for me, especially being in New York City and being at some of the popular stations ever. We did a lot of summer jams. We did a lot of Circle of Sisters. And I know a lot of different states and cities do their own versions of expos like that. But, you know, being able to work with different talent, work with different advertisers as well, also just opened my eyes to like so many possibilities. So about 3 years into my time at MS, I then transferred back to the sales team and I became a project manager. And there so I guess the role kind of switched from the sales coordinator. They gave project managers more work. So we actually built out the media decks. And I wouldn't say that we did the bulk of the work for account executives, but we were kind of like their assistant. And they went to sell and we managed their products on air as well as on the back end. So in that, I learned a lot about sponsorships, partnerships. I learned about, you know, digital ad buys. I learned a lot about just the business side of radio and even just more so the business side of media. Like being in that project manager role definitely grew a lot of like skill for me as far as negotiating and just, you know, building out plans that you really want to see successfully happen. So in 2017, I left MS, and I talk about it a lot on BGP. I got fired. Yeah. Not one of my proudest moments, but also not one of my darkest moments, because at the time I was starting SaaSbox, which is a subscription box service that I started in 2016. And I was featured on this TV show called Queen Boss on BT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so once I got, like, as I was getting fired, the premiere of this show was happening. So that was also another sign from God, another like, you know, this is okay. This time, that's why I'm like, me getting fired from Hot is never a dark moment for me. Right. It's definitely like, you stepped into something totally different. Mm-hmm. And I became a full-time entrepreneur at that point. So I was running SaaSbox, and then it kind of slowed down for me as far as providing the SaaSbox product itself. I did a lot of events under the business. I did brunches, mixers, panel discussions, pop-ups. I was doing pop-ups up until last summer for SaaSbox. And just, you know, really harvesting a network of Black women business owners. So in those last 3 years as well, I've done freelance social media work. I've worked for Rue 107, which is a boutique brand in the fashion district owned by a Haitian woman. Her name is Marie Jean Baptiste. I worked for Ashley Stewart as a social media manager as well, and I produced the social media for their fashion show finale that they do every year at the King's Theater, which is called Finding Ashley. It's a fashion show tour. They go on different tour stops in different cities in the country. We went to Atlanta. We went to California. We went so many different places. I think
I've seen that. I actually seen that on Instagram at one point, and I thought it was really, really dope. So to know that you created that's super dope. So I was gonna ask you about your experience as a Black woman working in media, but it seems like you're doing so your thing. Right, you've done so much, and you really have like raised the bar for a lot of us. Because I mean, you're out here, you're doing social media, you've done radio, you know, you've done a little bit of everything. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just, you know, move on to the next question, because I mean, your experience as a Black woman in media is just awesome. So how do you find the time to get all of this done? How do you manage your time?
You know, I will say this. I could not do it as a 9-to-5er. And I'm not advocating for people to quit their jobs, because let me tell you something.
Don't do a B. Simone. Mm-mm.
Let me tell you something. If you could have that 9-to-5 and be, you know, an entrepreneur, by all means, do it. Go for it, because that 9-to-5 definitely will fuel, feed, and purpose your entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. But I know how I am as a person in corporate settings. I know what I need to successfully be a creative. I'm a true creative at heart. Like I told you in the beginning, I come from a family of educators and artists. And right there in the middle, I found myself as free and creative as I could be. No, seriously, I do appreciate my parents for raising my brother and I the way they did, exposing us to different things and just allowing us to see that, like, the world is really your classroom, and anything that you want to do, it's out there for you to do it. Anything you put your mind to, you can do it. So how I manage my time is by doing what is right for me and what works for myself. Learning to say no when you need to say no, and learning to say yes when you need to say yes. And that's for myself and to others. So that's kind of how I balance things out. And that's my moral compass with things. And even with work, because I am a creative entrepreneur and I kind of dictate when I'm going to work and what work I'm going to take on or what I want to do. It has to go with how I see it. It really does.
That's a big lesson. I think that people really need to realize when you're in this business, you really have to go what your heart tells you, or even and what God tells you, because otherwise you could be going down a dark road. You know, the devil could be calling you. You don't even realize it. You know,
all money ain't good money.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you right about that. All money ain't good money. So
nope.
Yes. Let's move on to the, or how can I say it? The piece de resistance, if I can say it right.
Say that again.
Piece de resistance. I don't even know if I said it right, but hey, you know what I mean. The big part of the pie here.
Okay. Okay, I got you. Like, okay.
I a little French. It got a little ghetto French, you know. Just had to turn
I like it. I love it.
Okay, good. Now, how and when did the Black Girl podcast come together? Because I remember listening to it in my car on the way home from visiting my dad. And the first episodes, because you guys dropped a lot of episodes at one time at one point, and I was just listening. I was like, damn, they speaking to me. But I got a feeling I'm older than a lot of them, but still.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, like the conversations, the topics that you guys were talking about really hit home. And it really hit for me at a time where I wasn't happy.
Right.
I wasn't happy where I was. And I'm from North Carolina, and I loved living in Charlotte, but where I was working at was not a good place for me. And so when I caught wind of you guys' podcast and I started listening to the episodes, I was just like, man, they like, it got you speechless, but then you just thinking like, damn, they really are speaking to me, because I feel everything that they're saying, every conversation that they having, and everything that they're talking about, I've been through at some point, or I'm still going through, or have, it's just a roundabout circle. So how did you guys get this started? How and why? That's
so actually this was in mid 2016, I guess. We were working at MS Hot 97, and I had just gone outside to talk to my ex-boyfriend, and I came back in, and I was kind of like out of sorts about it, and they were like, why'd you go talk to him? You know you shouldn't have been talking to him, girl. Like, and we walked out into what was the traffic circle at the station, and Ebro Darden was sitting there on Snapchat, which was popular at the time, and he was filming us, and he was like, look at this. This should be the Black Women's Podcast. And we kind of just all like laughed it off, like, what? And so then like a couple of weeks had passed by, and we were all really like cool. We were like the cute, cool Black girls at MS. And I mean, let me not preface it like that, because there were other Black girls killing it too, but we were all tight, and we were in a chat. So I think a couple weeks had passed, and I was like, we should really probably think about recording, which I think. Because we would talk about things in the podcast, in the chat anyway, like, girl, guess what? this, that, and the third. And as you've heard on episodes, like, you know, Scotty and I have gone through breakups at the same time. We just like always chat about stuff like that.
Right.
So we went in the back studio at High 97 and recorded for like an hour. We sent it to a couple of friends and they were like, this is good. Y'all have something here. So then we sent it to Peter Rosenberg, who's also part of Ebro Morning Show at High 97. And he loved it. And he was like, I'm going to get you guys a producer and I'm going to set up some studio time for you guys at ESPN Studios. So, excuse me, a couple of Wednesdays, we went to ESPN Studios uptown and we recorded and we put it out the Christmas holiday of 2016.
And
the rest is history.
Colorado. Like, yeah. So, I mean, you got Scotty Bean, who used to work at Hot with you.
Yeah.
I think it's Alicia and one other girl. How did Gia come into this?
So Gia wasn't working officially at Hot 97, but she worked with Ebro. Ebro had a site at the time called Blame Ebro that she was an editor for. So she was always at the station. And, you know, you work in entertainment and depending on the city that you're in, I'm sure in Charlotte it's kind of the same. You see a lot of the same media girls. You're a Black girl in media. You're going to see the same girls at the event. So we always saw Gia at events. She would always come to the station. So she was our friend. And she was in that group chat with us too. So it was just kind of like, you know, we should just make it happen. But yeah, Scotty, Alicia P, Bex Francois, and Gia Peppers, and myself.
Yeah, I didn't want to say Beck's name wrong. That's why I didn't say it. I was like, I wasn't sure if that was her name.
Yeah,
but yeah, because I follow all you guys on Twitter, and I just, the camaraderie between you guys is, I mean, it's real. Yeah. Like you said, it's group chat. So I can see where it comes from. But my next question for you is the process. You know, when you're recording each episode, what is the process of you picking and choosing guests and the topics that you guys want to talk about?
So I guess I could say the process of us picking and choosing guests is really dependent on what's hot at the time, who we want to talk to, who's of interest to come on our show. A lot of times people reach out, you know, press reach out to us with interest of things that are hot on television or even music at the time. But we do have opportunities where we've interviewed Ari Lennox at the very top of her career, and she remembered us. And she then invited us to the opening of her, not the opening, excuse me, the listening party for her Shea Butter Baby project, which was amazing for Black women. So that's something that happens. As far as picking topics, we'll talk about something in our group chat and say, yeah, I want to talk about this. What are we going to talk about, y'all? Are we going to touch on this? You know, like checking in, like, do the people need to hear this topic from us? But for the most part, it's really always just super organic when we get on because we don't work together anymore. When we talk, sometimes it's when we talk, other than like quick little text in the group chat. But I love that about us, that we're able to still consistently give that organic conversation, because what y'all hear on the recordings really be our conversations. Like, hey, I'm catching up with Scotty right now. And I love that 4 years later, we're still able to bring that to y'all. So we have some exciting. Yes, this is our 4th year recording.
Wow. I didn't even realize it because, I mean, you guys, like I said, you dropped so many episodes and really have made an impact in that time. I mean, you guys did Complex Con.
Yeah.
Essence, like.
Yeah.
You guys are huge. You guys have been in magazines. And so, like, it's something to see women that look like us. I know I'm light as hell, but I am Black.
Girl, we look alike now.
You my twin, girl. You my twin.
You okay? No. I know what you mean.
But to see faces like us doing really big things like this in a short amount of time, I mean, let's just, you know, put it out there. It's like, it's dope. And, you know, it's wonderful to see, and to see you guys kind of like split your different ways, but still come together. But you guys are doing projects on your own.
Yeah.
and then you come together and you still talk like you never left each other.
Ever. And
Ever.
we actually recorded earlier this afternoon, and we were just like, Jesus Christ, when's the last time we saw each other? I think the last time I saw them was like February. It's August. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a long.
Non-virtually.
Oh, yeah,
I
'cause
saw
was-
Bex in June. Bex and I did a project together in June. That's the last time I saw her. But yeah.
everybody else kind of like February. That's
February.
crazy. So you guys are like, how are you guys doing it now? Like post COVID, you just zooming
So
in?
we've been recording on Zoom.
Okay.
And, you know, just releasing the audio from those episodes. We do have some exciting things coming up for our listeners. So that's all I will say.
Okay. I was gonna say, can you give me the tea?
No.
Ah! Well, I mean,
No.
this episode not airing until like October, so I mean.
I can't yet. I can't.
Okay. All right. Darn it, guys. I tried to get the tea ahead of time, the tease. Well, I'm excited for you guys. I'm excited to see it and hear it, and you guys keep going forward. And I want to kind of shift things a little bit serious. In these times, you know, with all this countless social injustices going on among us,
Right.
Do you believe that you guys' podcast is what we need here and now at this point? Like, is it really, how should I put it? It's needed more now than ever, is what I'm asking you.
Is it needed now more than ever? I think all Black voices need to be amplified now more than ever. So yes. And not because it's a performative action or it's because, you know, for show and tell, but because every Black voice matters and everyone needs to be heard. Everyone's story needs to be shared. It needs to be shared the right way. And the most wonderful thing about being Black to me is that we are not a monolithic people. There's so many sides of us. It's such a layered thing to be Black. It's so beautiful. That's why it's so beautiful, honestly. So I do think now more than ever, Black Girl Pod is needed because whether we're interviewing the director of a Netflix movie or we're talking about our self-care regimens, somebody needs to hear that. You know, I grew up in the church, and I don't attend church as much as I used to now.
No.
No, but one thing that I do like cherish about Black church in particular is like the message that you get and the community that's there. And that's just like that's what it is to be Black as a whole. Like no matter where you get the message, how you get the message, or the community that's out there for you is there. So like being Black in itself should just be your stance. Like I'm Black, I have a message to share, somebody needs to hear it. Here it goes.
Wow. I agree with you. And so then on to my next question. That's a good segue. Do you believe more doors are opening for Black women in media, or are we still having to fight to get in these same places as mainstream media?
I think that we are opening our own doors.
Woo, say it again.
Yeah, I do. I think we're opening our own doors in media because we're tired of fighting and we're tired of having to try to prove ourselves to just the simplest things. So I think we're seeing more of the production companies being created, more people doing what they want to do, creating their own content to be, you know, purpose somewhere else, but it's theirs. They're the brand rather than let me sell it to this, let me give it, you know, so yeah, I think we're opening our own doors.
I love it. I love to hear it. You know, so snap to that. So like I was saying, we're taking a little bit more of a serious stance here. In light of the public outcry with the murder of Breonna Taylor and the recent attempted murder of Jacob Blake, do you, in your mind, I know we're out here protesting has been going on since May.
Yep.
Going on about 4 months now. Do you ever believe that we as a people will receive grace and be able to move forward and really like live our lives as equals to our counterparts.
Wow, that is a loaded question. Um, do I ever feel like we'll be able to receive grace? I don't know if I want to receive grace from white people. That's one. Because I don't really care what they think. That's one. I think we need to start giving each other grace as Black people. And I don't, not to preach to us, but we are so traumatized. We are born into trauma. We have been, like, literally, once we realize that we are a traumatized people, we will probably stop hurting each other. And I want us to take care of each other. I don't care about them. I don't. I really don't. And the other part of your question was, will we ever be equal to our counterparts?
Yeah.
Male counterparts, or?
I mean, just white people in general. Black men and women, we're all protesting to get equality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really think some of the protests, most of the protests are really for the police to stop killing us.
Right.
You know, the equality thing, I'm not seeking for equality with someone who I don't even consider a person. They think they call us animals. I think they're animals. They are the most barbaric people in all kind.
Right.
I don't know anybody who goes to someone else's land, captures them, and takes them away. That's barbaric. I don't know anybody who sprays water hoses on innocent people trying to fight for their lives. That's barbaric. I don't know anybody who puts their knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes just to resist them, and they were just sitting there. That's fucking barbaric. Excuse my language. So I think if we start taking care of each other more, my beautiful Black sister, my beautiful Black brother, we will be fine. Them, I don't seek to be equal to them. I don't seek to pacify them. My Aunt Joyce Wilson has said it best through this entire pandemic. I am not auditioning for my humanity. I'm already a human. I don't need to do anything. As far as the protests go, my stance on that, this whole thing could burn down and I would not care.
Woo. Yeah. Well, hey, there you go. I totally agree with you. I mean, just to see it, it's an everyday thing, especially when you're watching it constantly on Twitter. It's like you can't respond to everything because it gets exhausting, it gets tiring. What else can you say at this point?
Right.
Just leave me alone. Like, leave me alone, let me be, let me live. That's it. You know? Whew. Well, thank you for your response on that. Let's move forward. All right. Now, you run 2 businesses. You were talking about it earlier, and you about to start running a third because I saw on your Instagram that you're getting ready to release.
It's still under Sassbox brand, but yes.
Okay.
I am getting ready to release a stretchwear line.
Yes. The leopard print, honey. The leopard print I was like, ooh, I want a piece of that right there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, Sassbox, yeah, it's one of them. I wanted to ask about that. I mean, kind of give your insight into running your businesses.
Sure.
What's a day-to-day look like for you?
So through this pandemic, honestly, it's been pretty tough, obviously, with my dance studio because I haven't been able to open. But a day-to-day looks like for me, I wake up, I lead an Instagram live stretch on Instagram, obviously, for about 15 minutes. It started every morning, and then I scaled it back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then I've been doing some freelance social media work for the last couple of months as well for a couple of boutique brands. So I'll do that for about 2 to 4 hours a day, depending on how much work I have dedicated for it. I also managing artist. His name is Nick Fury. So just check in with him, see what he's doing. And then earlier on in the pandemic, I was still checking in with my dance students. I was teaching on Zoom. So that took up some time, like about 2 hours of my day. If I have to record a podcast, that may take up some time. So that's pretty much like how a day kind of looks for me.
Wow. Yeah, busy. That's what it sounds like.
Very, very busy. Yes.
Just super busy. So you have your dance studio, you have the Sass Box. You were talking about the Sass Box and how you kind of bring in the Black owned businesses. Now, how do you curate these boxes? How do you reach out to these businesses and kind of get them to come in and be a part of this subscription service?
So I have not curated an actual box in about 2 years. And I actually I would prefer not to talk about my old process because, to be honest with you, it wasn't working. And that's why I scaled back on doing boxes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But I will be relaunching the subscription box service in the next year, in 2021.
Okay.
So right now, my LLC brand name is Sassbox, and I operate business under that. But as far as merchandise right now, I'm just getting ready to relaunch the I'm getting ready to launch the stretchwear line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we're gonna just wait to hear about that kind of get, and then you give insight on how you did it this time around. Because my next question was going to be
together.
Right. My next question was going to be, what are some of the obstacles and mistakes you have faced as a creative and as an entrepreneur?
I can answer that. So,
okay.
I mean, and I can kind of talk about my experience with Sassbox. When I first started, I met so many amazing women doing it, business owners. And then it grew to about 80 subscribers monthly.
Wow.
And just to be doing it by myself and not allowing the assistance that I did have to truly fall into place kind of failed me. And I did have help from a few different women who I cherish, and I still have really close relationships with them. But not being able to see it through and see it how I exactly wanted it to be, and allow people to help me is something I struggled with. So, yeah.
Being able to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because of our mind. I don't know about you, but I know for me, it's hard to ask for help because of my mindset. Because I feel like if I ask too many people to put their hands in my pot, then you don't get the process or get the product that you're wanting to see, like you were saying earlier.
Right.
And so I can totally understand it and get that. Well, my last question to you is, what's the advice you would give other young women that are looking to follow the same path that you're on right now?
I always say it. I always say just do it, like Nike, because I always remember that as a kid. But you have to trust yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to have faith. And not just, like having faith in yourself, but if you don't have faith in yourself, find faith in God, find it in a higher being, whatever your spiritual source is. You have to have faith, because literally prayers have gotten me through this entire life that I've been living. So that's what I will say.
I would say you living a blessed life too.
Thank you. And work hard. And then also networking is important. Networking is super important. Tapping into people that you meet anywhere for any instance is important. I know a lot of people look at me and be like, oh my gosh, she does so many things. But I love to work with my friends. I love to work with people who genuinely love what they do. So that's usually how I find myself in a bunch of things.
Yeah, because you like you said, you were mentioning earlier about Jameer Pond.
Yeah.
And he's done a lot of stuff with Cocoa Butter, BET.
Yeah.
And so you guys definitely have a tight-knit group up there.
Yeah.
And I love to see it when other Black creatives put on other Black creatives. And
thank you.
Your journey is one that I see that you're at peace and tranquility, for one, because when I saw the transformation that you made with yourself, the weight loss.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, goals, because I've been trying to get back down.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
She looks, but I honestly, with jokes all aside, I'm like, damn, this girl is crazy.
No, it's okay.
You really have done a lot of great work on yourself. I mean, when I saw the weight loss, I could see the glow and see how happy you were.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. I think as Black women, we need to say that more. It doesn't matter.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, Sapphira, let's talk about your projects you got coming up. I know you mentioned just a little bit, but just in case.
Yes, I know this won't air till October, but I am releasing my stretchwear line. So hopefully by the time you guys hear this, you'll be heading over to my site, which is sass.land. What else? I'm on the podcast. We have some very exciting things happening.
Can you tell us about?
I'm excited to just get through the rest of this year because it has been quite eventful. So
oh Lord, you ain't never lied. And if you gotta tell the people to vote, tell them to vote.
Yeah, please. This is coming out in October. Listen, we just talked about this on the podcast the other day too. I don't care if we gotta vote Trump out.
It don't matter if you're not for Biden and Harris, vote. If you're
and
not
I really hate to say that because I know there are people who just don't gel with him, but if you happen to go to the polls, do whatever you need to do to make sure Trump does not win. That's all that I'm going to say.
Well, thank you so much, Sapphira. Give us your socials before we close out.
Sapphira M, SAPPHIRAEM on all platforms, and sass.land, stretch with sass. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Well, thank you again, Sapphira. We
thank you for having me. No.
Oh, no problem. I hope you had a lot of fun with me. I tried my best.
And you had me joking. You had me cracking up.
Look, I had to do my research on you. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not coming in here looking like no fool today. I got 1/5 of the Black Girl Podcast coming on my show. Business owners. So if you want to do it, write it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that book.
All right, Sapphira, thank you.